Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. You had a good lunch? Yeah. Full of gratitude? Or with some, oh, this is not very good kind of thing? I hope so. Full of gratitude. You see, the thing is, I keep saying that always when when we have retreats in Israel. And so sometimes the food is not that fantastic, as you would maybe choose it in a 5-star restaurant or something like that. But we can make it, we can make it good, because I remember, I think it was in Yechiam, that somebody, we were eating the soup in the evening, and somebody said, well, I'm sorry, but I can't see this as nectar. So then I said, well, I'm also sorry, because that's not the fault of the soup, that's the fault of your mind. So it's like, again, it's quite cruel if you do not enjoy the food that you are eating, because so much work goes into growing this food. And then if you're not enjoying it, that means you're not honoring that effort. This is like, when you make a lot of effort in preparing food for somebody, and then that person says, oh, no, I'm not hungry, like this, how would you feel? Yeah. So, of course, then you say, oh, the people who work in the fields, they are not interested in me. They don't even know who I am. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But they are human beings. If you would know them, how much effort they have made, already that, just knowing how much effort they have made, if you would know personally, if it would be your son, maybe volunteering in the fields, because I know all of your sons and all of your daughters are going to university. So they're only doing these jobs in the summer holiday or something like that, I don't think they will spend their whole life with this. Unless they're the boss of the farm or something like that. But if you know that, your son or your daughter works in a field, and in the heat and everything, and then brings home the vegetables and said, look, this is what we grow. I mean, you would eat those vegetables totally different from how you eat them when you buy them in the shop. Because why? It's my son, my daughter. So you would appreciate that effort that your son or your daughter has made. And just by appreciating, then the food becomes much better. So we don't have to put so much effort into creating new menus and new food and, all these kinds of things. Because once the mind is happy and content, you can pretty much eat anything. This is what we talked about attachment. The more attachment that you have, the more specific you are that it has to be like this and not like this, and this I don't eat, and this is not. And then, your choices or your possibilities of feeling pleasure become very, very limited. But it's not the fault of the food. It's the fault of the mind state and of the attitude. Okay, so maybe we start again with doing refuge, since this is a Buddhist course. No. Well, how come I have them? Wait, I need to. How come I have it when? Is it that? Is it that one? No, it's not that one. Oh, Lord. And it's not that one either. So I have two open that are the same. You can meditate a little bit while I'm looking for the text. Where is Israel? Here. Here, prayers online. So where did it go? Is it that? I think so, yeah. Is that the refuge prayer?
Yes.
Yes, oof, lucky us. Okay, but let's contemplate on this again before, so that you go into the habit of really creating an attitude when you say these words. Yeah, again, what's the purpose of my life? Then we become aware of a few things like this is what would make my life meaningful. And then, again, we look at our possibilities. Can I attain that? Can I do this alone? Do I know how to attain that? So here, the Buddha is giving us is perfect opportunity. Actually, without even, you don't even have to become a Buddhist. You can just practice these attitudes, kind of, because Buddhism is not a belief system. It's some kind of, how to say, you have to experience these things and you have to explore, like a scientist. You have to explore if that is valid, what is being said. Just this one thing, that our mind can be free of any destructive emotion. This is something, don't take this just on face value. This you have to explore again and again and again and again. And then when you have moments, maybe that come in your meditation, when the mind is really calm, really spacious, really open, they may be very, very short. But to connect to that kind of mind and then go like, wow, okay, maybe this is what I want. Yeah, like this. And then when you hear the teachings also to examine them, not just to gulp it down and says, oh, the Buddha says. Yeah, that's very important. So the Buddha was not a religious leader. The Buddha was more like a scientist, who was examining and looking at the mind. How does the mind work? We all want happiness. Nobody wants suffering. Why are we all suffering? We're not that stupid in a way, but this feeling of wanting to be well, wanting to be peaceful, wanting to be whatever, wanting to be at ease, that we all have. It's always there. So then the Buddha was asking, how come that even if one is very rich, one is not able to live it, not able to fulfill that wish? So then he was looking and he was finding the cause, which are our destructive emotions from the past, which now give some consequences, some results, but especially our distorted mind states or destructive mind states. Sometimes they're called mental poisons, delusions, the kleshas, the mind states that distort reality, that totally exaggerate one side and doesn't want to see the other side. So like this. So then we can examine that. Is that true? When any of these emotions are present, and then we start to look at that list, in case you never heard about kleshas. Because when we hear destructive or negative emotions, very often we think that that's something that doesn't feel good. Anger can feel very good. Like, wow, I'm somebody, I'm special, and this and that. And as I said, unfortunately, also desire can feel very good because we're looking forward to something. The mind is very awake, the mind is very vibrant. So maybe then afterwards we see what the problem is. So this is also when it says in the prayer, at the beginning it feels good, but then it always turns sour. And for example, a positive mind state or a constructive mind state, which is, being embarrassed about having done something or feeling regret. It's not pleasant, but it's very necessary. Yeah, that we have these mind states. Patience is very painful sometimes. Being able to just bear with whatever is without wanting to change something, without reacting. So you will have to study the list. What is it that the Buddha says? What is a destructive emotion and what is a constructive emotion? Because then that list of destructive emotions become the kind of the fuel to do actions under their control, and then that results in the future, that gives consequences, and then it results in the future into suffering. So I think we ourselves, I would never have found this out, so then I'm very grateful to the Buddha. But I see this as true. Yeah, I accept what the Buddha is saying, That, for example, everything that comes together at one point will fall apart. Everything that we are not seeing with the clear and rational mind state, which we never have, by the way, results at one point into dissatisfaction, all contaminated phenomena and the nature of suffering. Then there is no real essence anywhere. The things are not themselves. We cannot find them. So there's no separate self. It's the four seals, you might have noticed. And then only nirvana is peace. That also I can see only when my mind is free of any of these destructive emotions, only then I will be able to fulfill that wish to be well and to be happy. Yeah. So if you see this as true, and if you accept them and you start to train them so that your mind or your actions are going in that direction, then, then we start to see, wow, this is so valid. And this is so precious also, not just valid, but also precious to have these teachings so that we can, if we want, we can attain a state of peace and happiness and ease. Yeah, this is what the Buddha's refuge can offer you. Constant peace, ease, and happiness, and a heart that is open for all sentient beings 24 hours a day, and no depression, no fear, no agenda, no self-concern. Isn't that wonderful, And then, of course, some people say, well, how do you know we can get to that state? That sometimes we say to that very high state. That's another misconception. This is not a very high state. This would be the normal state of our mind. Everything else is not normal. And normal, not in terms of the norm, like everybody is there, but this would be the natural state of the mind. At ease, peaceful, kind of natural compassion and love for all beings who are there, knowing what to do, having qualities and skills to be able to help others. So if you find that attractive, and even if we can't go all the way, but you will notice if you practice seriously, and as you go on this way, even though, as I'm saying, sometimes painful, the ego is not liking it, you will already experience more peace, less problems, more space, and be more at ease as you go along. So this is what will happen. But you need to practice. Knowing it intellectually is not enough. So when we say these words of refuge, it's good if you bear this in mind. And then again, not for this life, not even just for future good rebirth, but to have the skills and to be able to liberate myself from being under the control of my negative emotions. This is why I'm going for refuge, in order to be of benefit to all sentient beings. And then when these attitudes are there, then, already some renunciation is there, bodhicitta is there, view of emptiness may be also there, knowing that I, refuge, and the Buddha, all three are empty of any inherent existence. So these four very simple lines become very, very powerful help on your path. Okay, Tommy, your turn.
Okay.
Yes, please.
בבודה, בדרמה ובקהילה העילאית, אבקש מקלט עד להערה. באמצעות המצבורים שיצרתי, על ידי הקשבה לדרמה, לו אשיג בודהיות כדי להועיל ליצורים הנודדים. בבודה, בדרמה ובקהילה העילאית, אבקש מקלט עד להערה. באמצעות המצבורים שיצרתי, על ידי הקשבה לדרמה, לו אשיג בודהיות כדי להועיל ליצורים הנודדים. בבודה, בדרמה ובקהילה העילאית, אבקש מקלט עד להערה. באמצעות המצבורים שיצרתי, על ידי הקשבה לדרמה, לא אשיג בודהיות כדי להועיל ליצורים הנודדים.
Okay, thank you. So you see, if this seems too religious and you said, yeah, well, I'm Jewish, I don't want to become a Buddha, but still you don't have to, you can turn the phrases around a little bit and say, well, I trust these methods, which we have to admit, they do come from the Buddha, and we call it the Dharma. Dharma anyways, it means holding like a container. And it means many other things, by the way. So when you say, okay, these methods, they come from the Buddha, I trust them, and I want to apply them to my own mind in order to be of benefit to all sentient beings. I mean, it doesn't have to be Buddhist. This can be totally universal, you know, because the wish to be of benefit to others we have. This is also, it's a very human attitude that we have also. We love to be of benefit when we know what to do, how to do, doesn't take too much time, and it's not too expensive, and we don't have to let go of our own pleasures. Then we love it. And then that creates some kind of happiness also. So, but very often we don't know how to help. So then, and also very often it doesn't go well because the attitude of really wanting to do this is not there. You see, so maybe here also, maybe something we have to mentally add something. I can only attain that state of full Buddhahood if other beings allow me to help them, because I need to practice generosity, I need to practice ethical conduct, and I need to practice patience. For that, I need others. Yeah. So sometimes when we say these things, I want to be of benefit in order to be of benefit to all sentient beings. Again, it might be so, look at me, you know, I'm so noble, I want to benefit all sentient beings. But we need, if we want to fulfill our wish of lasting peace, lasting happiness, on top of it, of being useful, we need other beings so that already now we can practice the 6 perfections and we have enough positive potential to then attain that state. Okay, so it's not, you know, oh, I'm going out of my way and I'll be of benefit to all sentient beings. No, it's like, I need to be of benefit to all sentient beings in order to fulfill my own wish to attain full enlightenment. So it is a gift that kind of makes another gift. So the gifts kind of, you know, they continue. Is that more or less clear what I'm kind of raving on about here? Is it clear? Or was it totally confusing? Some people nod. So yeah, so that when you take refuge, you're not becoming too kind of arrogant about, look at me, the wonderful Buddhist. So we are grateful to other beings that give us the opportunity to feel love for them, to feel compassion for them, to be generous to them, and even the ones who push our buttons to generate how to say, to generate patience or to practice patience. Okay, then the next one is the 4 immeasurables, also such a powerful practice. This is the immune system for the mind, really. If your mind, even for a totally impossible person, which could be your son or your daughter, if you love that person, because we are capable of doing that, you know, you can have really, I won't say terrible children, which I see sometimes, and I think, oh my gosh, these poor parents. You know, your child can be very, very difficult, but still the love for them to be happy and the compassion for them to be free of suffering is still there. So that attitude we have, so all we need to do is just to expand it to all beings, because we've had contact with all beings many, many times, because it's said that the mind is without beginning. So like this. So again, and not just, the wish, oh, may all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. That's nice. It's already a good thing. Like, we're not excluding anybody, but also to take some responsibility and to think how wonderful it would be if I could lead or show all beings how it is possible to have happiness and the causes of happiness, the same way as the Buddha is showing us at the moment. Yeah. And then wouldn't it be wonderful if I could lead all beings, show them how to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And if I could show them how to attain that state, which is perfect peace, perfect ease, perfect happiness, and then knowing that as long as we have attachment and hatred, then this is not going to happen. Also knowing that we have to work with this. So then again, it becomes very, very powerful. And slowly, it kind of overpowers, of course, attachment and hatred. It also overpowers kind of cruelty with the compassion. It overpowers attachment, actually, when we start to generate this kind of love or disinterest. Yeah, and what else? And it overpowers jealousy. You know, when we have this joy, the third one is joy, knowing that all beings can attain that state. It's very joyful. Yeah. So even, you know, even this planet disappears, even whatever, but the minds themselves, they cannot be destroyed. And the possibility to have this peerless happiness is always there, because that's the nature of the mind. That should bring up a lot of joy. All the rest is just temporary. Yeah. So before we start with this, I have to show the Hebrew one. So before you start with this, it's really good to think all sentient beings, to really think it. You know, close your eyes and think, try to imagine that all sentient beings, down to the smallest insect, all animals, all beings that we can't see with our own eyes because they have like very subtle forms, all of this. Then the mind and the heart become very, very big. Wouldn't it be wonderful? All of those, you know, had happiness, were free from suffering and causes, could live their potential and be free from attachment and anger. And it will really become the immune system for your mind. Okay, Tamila, you can say it in Hebrew.
Okay. לו יזכו כל בעלי התודעה באושר ובגורמי האושר. לו ייפרדו כל בעלי התודעה מסבל ומגורמי הסבל. לו לעולם לא ייפרדו כל בעלי התודעה מאושר נטול כאב. לו יפתחו כל בעלי התודעה את מידת ההשתוות, ללא משוא פנים של היקשרות ושל סלידה.
Okay, thank you. So if you recite this in the morning before you go out of the house, you know, it might be just, again, blah, blah, blah. But you keep reciting it, and then it makes some traces in your mind. And then outside you see like, oh, I'm judging this one and I'm disliking that one. And all of a sudden you become aware, hey, what am I doing? This morning I had, you know, I was sitting on my cushion like a Buddha, being inspired, open heart, and all this. And now what am I doing? I'm judging everybody. And instead of making them happy, I'm actually making them unhappy. Then slowly, slowly also our behavior changes. And when the mind is in the right direction, like, you know, has love, has compassion, then we will do the right action also. Yeah, this is it. It's not the action that is so important. It is really your attitude and your mind state. And mind states we can always change with awareness and knowing the right antidotes. Yeah. Outside situations, we have no control. But the mind, your mind state, you know, you can check with basic awareness or mindfulness, hey, what's going on? And then using the right antidotes in order to generate a positive state of mind. So, because the mind is always with you, so you have this ability. Okay, so this morning we were doing not being so attached to the good things in this world and not being so averse to things that are difficult, because when things are difficult, you know, the good thing about it, we can generate patience. We exhaust our negative karma that maybe would result in a rebirth in a lower state. And on top of it, we can also generate some empathy or compassion for beings that are in the same situation as we are. So difficult situations are not that bad. Actually, in the long run, they are more beneficial than the easy, nice, pleasant situations, because with the pleasant situations, the same thing. You know, we exhaust our positive karmic imprints. So kind of it depletes our karmic bank account, the good one. We generate attachment to them very, very quickly, or we become dependent, that we can only be happy when all these things are present. And we get quite self-concerned because we're very busy amassing more and more of these kind of sensual pleasures. Yeah, so actually the good time that we call good time, when you look in with Dharma eyes, it is not such a good time, actually. It's kind of, in the long run, it's not so beneficial. Yet we keep kind of wishing and hoping for it and running after it. But it will come, you know, even if you say, oh, ooh, from now on, I don't want to have a good time anymore. You can't prevent it. If it's there, it's there. And then you just enjoy it. And again, use it in order to widen your mind a bit by saying, okay, now I'm having a really good time. May all beings be able to enjoy these kind of things. So then it's not just on you, you know, and then your pleasure actually increases. And on top of it, you're not depleting your karmic kind of bank account. All right, so that's what we did this morning. And now we're going one step further. Yeah, so because being attached, I'm not sure if you can see it, because being attached to the pleasures of this life, in order to defend them and in order to get them, it is quite possible that we are creating negative karma, which then would result in a lower state. So that's why when we're not attached to them and when they come, we enjoy them and we're not getting angry and aggressive. If they are not there and, you know, we think of the benefits and all this. So we are not creating, it doesn't become a hindrance also to our Dharma practice. We can still listen to the teaching, you know, reflect on them, meditate on them and so on with the attitude of, hey, I want to have another good human rebirth so I can continue with the path. But then even that is not enough. So one talks about in these first two lines of this prayer, one talks about like renunciation. So renunciation sometimes not such a good word because it kind of, we don't like it because we think we have to give up things that are desirable. You know, when we hear renunciation, it's like always a bit, somebody wants to take away something from me that then I will suffer even more if I don't have it anymore. Renunciation, it is true. It is also, we have to give something up. That is true, but we give something up that is not desirable. So all we need to understand what we're giving up is actually not desirable. So you're not giving up your pleasures. You are giving up suffering and the causes for suffering, which is our negative emotions. Yeah, this is what you want to be free of. So when we talk about renunciation, so you're not renouncing the world, like, you know, you can be reborn again and again and again, that's fine. But what you are renouncing is what is creating the world the way we see it, which is our wrong views, attachment and aversion, like kind of in short, you know, saying it very short. The causes for the suffering you give up, okay? Especially these distorted mind states. So we need to have some kind of, you know, we need to sacrifice something, that is true, but we need to see that this sacrifice is actually intelligent, because even though it might create some suffering in the present now, when we have to oppose and restrain from acting out these destructive emotions, but it's actually an intelligent sacrifice because it creates happiness for the future. Okay, so we can make intelligent sacrifices. You know, we go to the dentist. We know it will hurt. We know it's expensive. Yet we go because we know that if I don't go, the problem is going to increase. There we are intelligent enough because we can see action and then the result. We can see it immediately. Yeah, so we understand. So here, when we talk about, you know, karma and future and past lives, then one needs to have some trust in the Buddhist teachings because we cannot check that. We cannot check that automatically. So we will need to trade something. So we are trading our suffering basically for happiness, for the happiness that we want. Yeah. And we need to make this our priority, you know. So it's really good for you, maybe this evening, and tomorrow we'll start with this if I don't forget it. I'll have to write it down what I said. so that I know. So maybe this evening, to sit down and really look, what makes me happy? And you make a list. And then tomorrow you can put that in the chat, to see what makes me really happy. And to be spontaneous, not to come, not to take the Dharma book and look, okay, what are the causes for happiness? But really to listen to your heart. What makes me really happy? And it was really touching because I do workshops for kids and teenagers sometimes in the House of Religion. So I asked them, the last class I had, I asked them, what makes you happy? And wow, they were 10 or 12 years old, not all of them. And I don't know if it was just answers that they heard, but it seemed pretty genuine. So one of the questions I asked was, because it's the House of Religions, and young people are in general not very interested in religion. So I asked them, do you think we need religion? And then one 12-year-old boy, he said, no, I don't need religion. All I need to do is being a good human, a good person. So then I said, yeah, that's fine. That's great, because this is all about if religion can help you to do that, then we need religion. But actually we wouldn't need it if by oneself one could become a good person. And then I asked them what makes them happy. So one girl said, sometimes when I think I am so happy that my mom didn't die when I was a baby. So the mother wasn't sick or anything, there was no danger. But to think that far, my mom could have died when I was a baby, and now she's 12 years old and being so happy that her mom is still around. I mean, wow, I was so inspired. And another one said, it makes me happy when I see happy people. Yeah. So I found this very, very very inspiring. So for you also to really from your heart to write down all the causes for you that makes you happy. Try not to have ready-made Dharma answers, not like this. We need to get to know ourselves. We need to be honest with ourselves, yeah, and not to be ashamed. This is very important also. And especially, with desires and things like that. So sometimes we believe that we should be able to control ourselves when we have cravings, and then when we don't succeed, we feel like a failure and we feel guilty. And I feel this is totally wrong. We should generate compassion for ourselves and to really start to understand where these addictions are coming from, like this. So shame and guilt is like, it's so useless, really. You have to heal this. You have to don't go down that alley, because we don't have control over our mind. Yeah, we are training to finally have control over our mind, but we are not. Yeah, so when we are addicted, it means we are deprived of something, and most of the time we are deprived of love that we don't give to ourselves. Yeah, then we start to hate ourselves. And then again, you go into the loop and all this. I can tell you how it works. I used to be an alcoholic. So, when you give in to your wants, although intellectually it's not so great, please, calm yourself down and just say, look, it's okay. I know you don't want to do this, but still there's the habit, there's the tendencies. And like this, and to try to heal this, and to feel some compassion for ourselves for having these wants and these needs and all this. It's so important. Yeah, we have to be able to appreciate ourselves the way we are. Then we can start to change. Because if we hate ourselves the way we are right now, it's not. It won't be possible to change. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the text. Okay, so now it says, like, even if you have a good rebirth, there is still a lot of negative things happening. So now I know, now we are looking one-sided, yeah? So first, actually, to be able to start with the practice, we are looking how many good things we have in our life, so that we see that we have all the conditions so that we can start to practice. Once we understood this, and once then we see, and we practice ethical conduct and all this, but then one goes a step further and says, but even a human life is not good enough for what we could actually have, which is lasting peace. Lasting peace, meaning not being under the control of our negative emotions anymore. Yeah. So then that becomes the purpose or the motivation for your practice. Yeah. Not just a good rebirth all the time, but I want to be totally free from being under the control of these negative emotions. So I think it's a good way of saying that. If you say, I want to be free of the negative emotions, I think you don't make enough distance between you and the negative emotions. If you say, I want to be free of being under the control of the negative emotions, then we can see they are not, we have them, but they are not us. This is a very important point. Yeah. Because otherwise, if you say, I'm such an angry person, I want to be free of that anger. Well, if you are the angry person, you have to kill yourself in order to be free of the anger. Yeah. So it's so important. Don't identify with your negative emotions. As Jung was saying, they are not you, but you have them. So we have to take care of them. Yeah. And also, for me, this is very helpful, this being, I am at the moment under the control of these negative emotions. I don't want to be the slave of these negative emotions anymore. Thank you very much. To take also some of our arrogance that we have and determination, that will give us the strength maybe to restrain from acting them out. Okay. So when we look at our existence now, then we look at the three kinds of suffering or other sufferings that we have. Now, again, suffering is a strong word. So maybe a better word would be at the dissatisfaction, that we, even though we have so many things, but still there's always this feel of I'm lacking something, I'm lacking something, I'm lacking something deep down. Yeah, and then we're looking in the wrong place to fill that hole. Yeah. So I think you can see the text, yeah? Yeah, okay. In order to attain nirvana beyond all sorrow, abandon attachment to the three realms of samsara. And in order to relinquish attachment to the three realms, reflect on the faults of samsaric existence. First, there is the suffering upon suffering, or the suffering of pain, which is the suffering of the three lower states. So here the three realms are clearly the three lower, the samsara with the three realms, I think is clearly, as Benny was saying, is the desire realm, the form, and the formless realm. So, so the suffering upon suffering is the suffering of pain, which is the suffering of the three lower states. So is hell states, hungry ghosts, and animals. Now again, people say, I don't believe in this and all that. It's fine. But still, it is explained that in the lower states, the suffering of pain is just all pervading. Like you have no respite from it. It's always there. As a hungry ghost, you always have terrible craving, like a person who is addicted and who never finds what they need. In the hell realms, there's the excruciating pain of heat and cold and being beaten and cut and all this all the time. So we also have the suffering of pain in the human realm. That's true, but sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not there. Yeah, so this is why they talk about the suffering of pain, especially present in the lower states. So contemplate this deeply and you will break out in goose pimples. So you can find the descriptions of these sufferings of the lower states. You can find them in the, more detailed, as what I just said. You can find them in the text, in the Lamrim or any other text. The suffering of the animals, we forget, because when we think about animals, we only think about our pets. And then we go like, wow, they have a really nice life. We are feeding them. We bring them to the doctor when they're sick. They don't have to work. They can sleep when they want to sleep. They can play when they want to play. But these are just a few animals, you know. If we think about all the animals in the factories that are being cultivated, bred in order to be killed and then eaten, if we think about all the animals in the labs where we make experiments, if we think about all the animals like in the circuses, all the animals that are being used for entertainment, you know, pets sometimes also. I mean, how many pets, maybe not in Israel, but in France, for example, before the summer holidays, how many dogs are found just totally abandoned somewhere because they couldn't take the dog along to the holiday? Human beings are treating animals really like just merchandise. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah. So this is the suffering of the animals, like being controlled by humans, one thing, or being controlled by stronger animals. And there's a lot of fear and not being able to figure out how to solve problems also. Yeah, so this would be suffering of change, the suffering of pain in the animal realm. So there, wherever you find yourself, how dreadful it will be. So that we say, I definitely, when you read these texts, there should be some kind of dread coming up and saying, I definitely don't want to go there. Why? Because suffering, pain is always present. I don't want to experience it. And also I wouldn't be able to practice under such circumstances. So this is the first suffering of pain, which we also have sometimes. And we see that when it's present, like headache, fever, sick, broken arm, broken leg. It's very difficult to practice, very difficult to listen to Dharma teachings. Then we contemplate the suffering of change and how you can fall from higher to lower realms. How Indra, Lord of Gods, can be reborn as an ordinary mortal. The sun and the moon can turn back. And the emperor of the world can be reborn as a humble servant. Such examples are to be trusted as they come from the scriptures, yet they are hard for ordinary beings to comprehend. I wonder if it's so hard to comprehend. I mean, if you look at your prime minister, who has a lot of power, but he is in great danger to go to prison and to fall from the power. And we can see how other very powerful people have been murdered and things like that. So, and how one can go from very rich to poor like everybody else if the power of money, if the paper that we call money loses its power, because the power is not in the paper, the power is what the way we give it. That's it. Our riches are finished, are gone. We can, at any moment, we can lose everything that we are attached to or that we find security and happiness in. So this is the suffering of change. It's one part of suffering of change, like its impermanence. But it's also that if we keep doing something that is pleasant, if we keep doing for too long, it turns into dissatisfaction and sometimes even pain. Yeah. So as an example, very simple example, it's like now winter is approaching also in Israel, so you're cold. So you think, okay, I'm going out in the garden, I'm going to lie in the sun. So you lie in the sun, then it doesn't take very long, you get too hot, then you go into the shade, and then you're cold again, and then you come out into the sun again, and so like this. We constantly have to move because of this suffering of change in order for it not to turn into the suffering of pain. Yeah. Like, just very simple. If you breathe in, you have to breathe out. You have no choice. Otherwise you die. Yeah. If you eat, you have to stop eating. Also, otherwise you die. If you walk, at one point you have to sit down. If you sit down, then at one point maybe you have to lie down or start walking again, and so on. So in general, we're not disturbed by this. That, yeah, this is it. This is normal. Everybody's like this. Yeah, but it's not satisfactory that we are under the control of that, and especially that everything can change just like that. So in the reflection that we will do afterwards, we will go through the sufferings of humans, like uncertainty, dissatisfaction, having to go from high to low, having to be reborn again and again and again, having to die again and again and again, and that we are quite alone in this process. Yeah. Or the suffering of birth, sickness, old age, and death, and then the suffering of having these contaminated aggregates. Then is the suffering of having what we don't want, not having what we want, desiring things that we cannot attain, and losing what we are attached to. Those are the 6 and the 8 sufferings. So we have a great list that if you know that list and you in your daily life, you start to feel dissatisfied or you start to feel afraid, then you can go into which one of these sufferings is it now? And we see that this is very much part of our existence as long as we keep creating the causes, yeah, which are our negative emotions and our negative actions. So then again, you know, the wish to not to be attached to this kind of state, knowing that we can be free from being under the control of our negative emotions, then even the state that we are in now, like the human rebirth, then is not good enough. So we're not getting attached to it. Doesn't mean we throw it away. It means we will use it in order to make progress on the path towards liberation. Where were we? So just look then with your own eyes at the changes amongst humans. The wealthy turn into beggars, the powerful grow weak. Out of many people, only one survives, and so on, beyond our mind's imagining. So that's one thing that we have in the human realm. Then to contemplate the suffering of conditioning. This is even more subtle, that we definitely don't understand as suffering. See how there is never an end of things to do, and suffering is found amongst the many and the few, amongst the well-off and the starving alike. Our whole human life is spent preparing. You know, we always prepare something for the future. When I saw this, I really had to start laughing. I mean, it is so true. Yeah, we're always busy kind of, instead of living now, we're always busy preparing something for the future. And I saw it because in the tea break, I went to the fridge to take out the things for lunch. So it's like, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So our whole life, human life, is spent preparing. And in the midst of our preparing, we are swept away by death. But not even in the death is there any end to preparation, as once again we begin making ready for the next life. How perverse they are who keep clinging to this heap of misery that is samsara. Okay, so then here the argument comes, yeah, but there's also moments of happiness. Yes, exactly. That is the problem about samsara in our own state. There are moments of happiness. If there would be no moments of happiness, we would be out long ago. Then we cling to these short moments of happiness when we have a short moment of peace. Yeah, but they're so short. When you look, how many moments do you have where you don't have to do anything and you are happy with not doing anything? Because then we're not even happy. Yeah, we are driven by this activity, action, doing. Okay, but even in death, there's no end to preparation, and once again we begin making ready for the next life. How perverse they are who keep clinging to this heap of misery that is samsara. We need to see it as misery without being depressed, and we don't get depressed when we see that there's a way out. So these two things go together. Yeah. If you just see it as misery, you get depressed. This is why when people hear this for the first time, because when we do longer courses on the Lamrim, then we go through all the sufferings one by one, and people are quite depressed after the lesson because they don't know yet that there's a way out. So luckily, you do know that there's a way out. But it's not easy to get out. And in order to get out, we need to see it as a heap of misery without kind of getting stuck in it, Because when I don't know, when you have a difficult situation, but it's going to end and that there can be a way out, it's okay. We're not getting depressed. We're just doing what we need to do if we can do something. But when we don't know that there is an end, then the mind starts to freak out a little bit. So when free from such attachment, there is nirvana. Nirvana meaning not being under the control of negative emotions anymore. And in nirvana, the attainment of lasting bliss. I sing of my realization, freedom from attachment to this life and samsara. Okay. Okay, so that's the second step here. You know, having renunciation, or Lama Yeshe used to call it definite emergence, like the wish to get out of, not just suffering, but especially the causes of suffering. And then we need to study the Dharma, and we need to be able to apply antidotes to those negative emotions. So maybe we can have a quiz, 5 minutes here. If you feel a lot of attachment to something or desire for something, attachment and desire is not exactly the same thing, okay? So desire we have when we don't have the thing yet. Then we get the thing, and then we get attached to it because we think, or it looks as if the happy feeling or the pleasure comes from the object. The object is just the basis for the pleasant feeling. It's not the cause. The cause for the pleasant feeling is a positive action from the past, a skillful action from the past. But we are so deluded that it looks as if I have contact with this object, it either creates a happy or an unhappy feeling. Then we think the object is the cause. It's not the cause, just the condition. So it's not the same. This is why from the same object, you can either have a pleasant feeling or an unpleasant feeling, depending. And this is why also, you see, pleasant experiences not necessarily become the cause for attachment. They can also become the cause for contentment and gratitude. Unpleasant feeling not necessarily become a cause for, a cause for aggression. Yeah, they can also become a cause for patience. Or let's say more a condition, but anyway, they can help us with our patience. Not necessarily that every pleasant feeling creates attachment, but very often it does when we're not mindful. You know, instead then we want, it's like, oh, wow, this is so great. Ooh, this is mine. And then we want to keep it instead of, wow, I know it's impermanent. I know it's empty. I know the pleasure doesn't come from this object, but how wonderful that I have it for the moment. And we say thank you to all the beings who have been involved in order to create that object or something like that. You know, then your pleasure become dharma. Yeah, the unpleasant feelings, we start to understand, negative karma ripening, okay, I don't like this so much, so I better be careful that I don't create more of this. Compassion, may nobody experience these things, and okay, I will not react, I will not retaliate, and then it becomes, then you generate patience. Whereas in general, when we're not mindful, when I got this message last night, I accept you as a friend on Facebook, although I am your enemy. The first reaction is like, what? Yeah, so like this. Then you start to see, the reaction is not creating the karma yet. Yeah? It's only when you start writing, then it starts to create. So it's always good to wait a little bit before you answer these kind of things. And then we can answer in a skillful way. Okay, so if you have desire, what antidote would you use, my dears? You can either write it in the chat. Maybe write it in the chat, because then we can have many antidotes for those who know. And if you can write, please, in English, because otherwise I can't read. Hey, antidotes for attachment, for desire? Hello? Can you please write them in the chat? Also, the very advanced practitioners, it's okay. Try to find the beauty in the object, okay? Thinking on impermanence, very good. Thinking on the other aspects of the object, yeah. Asupa, what's asupa? I don't know. Or Nas iPhone, Asuba, is it, what does it mean? Don't know. Thinking about the negative aspects of the object, yeah. What are the negative aspects of an object when it seems attractive to us? We really have to, it's good when you say thinking about the negative aspects of the object, because they don't appear. It appears as totally pleasant, totally good, totally wonderful. So we have to think about them. So you can continue with the chat. What are these negative aspects of an object that appears as being very attractive? Negative objects, yeah, what are they? Can you be a bit more specific? Because this is just words, we don't know. You have to be a bit more specific. What are the negative aspects of an object that appears to be attractive? It will change. Very good. Thank you very much. I have to take care of it. Yes, exactly. I have to protect it, especially if it's very expensive. Oh, I have to be afraid that somebody will steal it or will take it or will destroy it. Do you know that that story of this lama who some people from Hong Kong looking at the need for the object, then the wish to whether disappear comes with less attachment. Yeah. So somebody from Hong Kong gave him a very, very precious Chinese teacup, like antique, and I don't know how many thousands of dollars worth. So that cup became very, very precious, and it was always carried by his attendant, and in a very careful way. So the Lama, on purpose, when he got, when he was standing next to his attendant, he went tuck. And so the cup went flying and they broke. And he said, well, good thing, now this stupid thing is broken, but it's just a cup. Yeah, we would like this one, the fear of losing it when we find it very precious is very good, Tomel. We have to take care of it. Yeah, it's expensive also, we need them. Do I really want to spend the money for it? Then looking at the need for the object, then the wish for whether disappear or comes with less attachment. Yeah, relinquishing the object. Yeah, that at the time of death we have to leave it behind. Somebody has to take care, then somebody else has to take care of all these objects. Can you imagine, somebody dies and you have to empty out their house? Have you ever done that? Have you ever had to, whoever had to do that? You can raise your hand and I'll see if somebody knows what I'm talking about. Michal, and also two Michals we have there. Yeah, is it a pleasant job? Is it pleasant work to do? Yeah, no, because we have to throw away the things that we know the person was attached to, and that feels terrible, but I don't want these things and I can't do anything with them. So, if you don't leave anything behind, well, all the best. It is easy. It is not what it looks like. Yes, Adriana, thank you very much. It looks as if the pleasure comes from there. It's not true. Now, is our mind ready and happy to think about these points? Is this realistic for us that automatically the mind goes there, even though the object appears as very attractive? Is the mind readily, happily wanting to look at these difficulties? Not yet, somebody says. I don't know who it is. It's written in Hebrew. Not yet. That's a very good answer. Not yet. So never give up, and force the mind to go there. Say, hey, look, until it does it automatically, And we do it, sometimes, and we know we can do it. Sometimes we do. When you have to buy something and it's very expensive, you kind of weigh up, you weigh up, okay, is it worth the suffering of having to spend the money? having this object. So we can do this. The only difference here is we do it in long terms. You know, the moment of short happiness, it's hard work to get there. Yeah, the whole of Dharma is hard work, my dear, but it can be joyful hard work. So again, you know, when you hear hard work, don't be afraid. It's fine. Hard work is okay. That it's not possible, that would be difficult. That would be terrible or bad. But hard work is okay. And if we have enthusiasm, hard work becomes very fulfilling and very satisfying. We all know that. If we kind of get our senses, things together, and we start something that we know is difficult with a lot of enthusiasm, there's a lot of fulfillment coming out of it. Yeah, it's hard work. Yes, this we have to honor. It is hard work, but it can be very joyful because it's a challenge. Yeah. It is harder to stay in samsara. We just do not know it. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Shachar. You know, it like, you know, the hardships I read somewhere also, I thought, gosh, it's so true. I mean, the hardships of bearing or doing Dharma practice are much smaller than the hardships in hell. But no, we choose the hardships in hell because we are afraid of the hardships of the Dharma practice. Because in the hells, we cannot practice, so we can't compare. Whereas now, where we have a lot of pleasant moments, we can compare. So say, it's too difficult, it's too hard. It is a new creation. Yeah, like it's the mind who is creating the pleasantness. Exactly. So this is good to see also. It's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, not on the object. But it doesn't appear like this. So we have to remind ourselves again and again and again and again. And another very big disadvantage is like, I get attached to these things and I don't want to be attached. I want to be free of them. Yeah, they will give me satisfaction. Not for long. If I get attached, they create more dissatisfaction, more problems, less pleasure, less freedom. So no, thank you very much. I let it be. And as it says here in your chats, it will take a long time, but it's okay. We can still do it. Okay, my dears. So this is, wanting to get free of the whole of samsara, even of the good things, or what we call the good things. So we will do a reflection on the misery of samsara, of the upper states that we are in, like the human realm, in 15 minutes. So we'll start at 20 past, okay? All right?
Okay.
So we make a break. And again, for the questions or your comments, because this can generate a lot of comments, these kind of teachings, especially when they're so short and not many explanations, you can keep them until the end of the reflection. Okay, great. So we make 15 minutes break, a well-earned break, and look where the mind wants to go. You have nothing to do now for 15 minutes, and look what it's going to do. It wants to do something. Yeah. So we're just taking a break from this to go to another activity. So just relax, just enjoy. Wow, nothing to do. And then look how difficult this will be. And please enjoy and look at it with humor again, The endless preparing for the next moment. It starts now.
Thank you, Anila.
You're very welcome.